Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys from Africa, you know we love you in Canada, the Big C drop, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful September 18th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we just recovered from a great weekend of pro and college football, and the weekend's starting already in 2 days, so we're a little confused. We got to get a new calendar that says something different.
Yeah.
Football's not just on the weekend.
Yeah, you got one of those Greek calendars. People still trying to figure it out. All is fair in love and war, especially in the sports universe, the land of vibranium. I was just over in the state of Nevada today and just doing some tours of college football programs. Nevada just knocked off another Pac-12 power in Oregon State. You know, Pac-12 power, that's an oxymoron. But I do want to bring to your thoughts with everything happening right now. I know we talked the Power 5 conferences, but as a Power 5 conference, we just saw Fresno State knock off UCLA at the Rose Bowl, and to see Nevada knock off Oregon State up at Mackey Stadium in Reno, which is a gorgeous stadium up there at University of Nevada, and just touring some of the Pac-12 teams and also the Mountain West teams. Big C, there's something about the schools at that next level. That would be Nevada. That would be Fresno State, Boise State. They have such beautiful facilities, but they're oftentimes rarely on TV. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, people are looking at the draw appeal when you think about that. You know, when you look at some of those stadiums that you mentioned, Fresno State, Boise State, Nevada, I don't think any of those stadiums really seat over 40,000 fans, Charlton. And when you can look at games like College Station, down in Texas A&M, where you got 102 to 105,000. You look at Death Valley and LSU, where you have 105,000 at Ohio State, 114,000 at Michigan, Charlton.
Are you talking about cities or stadiums? Are you saying cities or stadiums, Big C?
Well, you know, Charlton, that's the draw appeal. You know, when you look at the electricity of a crowd, when you look at the fanfare, that's the appealing eye of a television. A lot of these lesser programs, Charlton, they don't always show the entire stadium.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you look at these big-time Power 5 conferences, Charlton, that's the appeal of the event. It is the stadium. Sometimes it's even more electrifying than the game.
Yeah.
You know, we look at the Pac-12, Charlton. You're hard-pressed to find consistent sellouts in the Pac-12. Oregon leads the way as far as attendance in the Pac-12, but they only have about a 62,000-seat stadium.
Yep.
Everybody else is guesswork. Even in Washington, as high as they rank, they don't always sell out. But Oxford Stadium up at Oregon is always a sellout for the past couple of decades.
Yeah.
So when you don't have that consistency of fanfare, the Rose Bowl, I mean, it's a cavernous place, 108,000 seats.
Yeah.
UCLA never draws more than 60,000 people, Charlton, 50,000, the same as the Coliseum in Los Angeles. So when you see these southern schools, Charlton, and they always pack the house, we just saw the game with Alabama and Mississippi over the weekend. Number one just spotted a team a touchdown and just proceeded to drub them. They took them out behind the woodshed and beat them up with some cane holes, you know.
Alabama,
it was a packed house. But, you know, when we looked at Jordan-Hare in Auburn, Charlton, it was a packed house, 80,000.
Yep.
You know, you saw the University of Georgia. They had 85,000 in their stadium, Charlton.
Yep.
So wherever you go in the SEC, you have a packed house. You don't have to worry about people not showing up. And so that's part of the draw appeal, where you don't see these mid-majors on television all the time, Charlton, unless they're on the road, you know, hosting. Boise State lost to Oklahoma State, you know, in Stillwater this past weekend.
Yeah.
And they had a packed house, you know, at that stadium, Charlton. They had standing room only.
Yeah.
So that's the appeal that you get. You know, Oklahoma filled up, you know, Iowa State Stadium. They had people sitting out on the grassy knolls and everything. So, you know, the big-time programs, Charlton, bring big-time butts in the seat.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously impressive. I just look at some of the times when people have started to look at what it takes to make money. It takes, number one, having facilities. That's what it takes. But it also takes, after you have the facilities, because there's a lot of great programs. Look at Baylor. When Baylor built that great stadium down there in Waco, Texas, they had a really good team for a while when they had RG3, but they've struggled, been on hard times lately since the stuff that happened with Art Briles and the scandal. So it's going to take them time to build it back. Also, SMU, I look at their stadium. That was the time back in the day, the Pony Express, they were the team in college football with Eric Dickerson and Craig James. Now they're having a hard...
Texas Stadium.
Yeah.
They played at Texas Stadium during that time, Charlton. They didn't have an on-campus stadium that they could play in. So they played behind the Cowboys and actually drew better than the Cowboys did.
That's amazing. And now they built I think they built about a 35,000 seat stadium down there in Texas, and they were just on TV, I think over the weekend, last week they were playing TCU down there. It's a nice looking stadium, but nothing like the ones that hold 100,000, like you mentioned, a lot of the teams down in the SEC. But in just looking at what we're doing with Big C Sports, we're seeing some of the smaller teams take on some of the bigger programs. Vanderbilt Stadium, they're not the biggest stadium, even though they're playing a lot better football. They were at 80,000 seat Notre Dame and almost beat them. And then other programs, I was shocked, and I want your thoughts on this. Why is Miami, Florida playing at Toledo, which plays about 35,000 seats? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's about all they were getting down in Miami. Well, in Fort Lauderdale, where that Hard Rock Stadium is.
Yeah.
It's so far away from campus. You got to think about the University of Miami's campus. It's in Coral Gables.
Yeah.
So for the students to get to a game, Charlton, it's a 35, 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
To get a mile drive to get to the stadium. And when you have traffic down there on the weekend, it's not an easy thing. And everybody on campus, Charlton, doesn't have transportation.
Right.
So when you look at these stadiums that are away from campus that players have to play in,
yep.
That's what you get out in the Rose Bowl with the UCLA campus is in Westwood.
Too far.
The Rose Bowl is in Pasadena.
Yeah.
That's not an easy trek, Charlton. That's a 30-minute ride.
Yeah.
30-mile drive, 30-mile drive to get to that stadium.
Yep.
And even with the transit system in Los Angeles, it's not an easy thing to get to a game. So you take a lot of these students, Charlton, that are in these campuses that don't have the stadium on campus.
Yeah.
It's not attractive for them to get to the game. But when you look at all of the SEC stadiums, Charlton, they're right in the heart of campus.
Yep.
So if you have 30,000 students on campus, Charlton, you're going to get 15,000, 20,000 of those students that come to the game.
Yep.
That makes a humongous difference when you have an electrifying crowd and these Las Vegas. I remember the stadium there, being down in Vegas too many times. They have a stadium that sits way out in the middle of nowhere, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you think about UNLV, their campus is right downtown at the end of the strip.
Yeah, Thomas and Mack.
And the stadium, is some 15 miles away. And so on a hot day, that's every day in Vegas during football season.
Yeah.
You're not going to go out there if you're a student. I mean, you got the option of going sitting in a casino playing bingo, or you want to go sit out in the hot stadium.
Yeah.
You're going to play bingo, Charlton.
Yeah, and if you're going to play bingo, you got to drive. Sometimes you got to drive, Big C. And when you're driving, you got to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So again, we love college football. I love seeing some of the middle of the pack conferences, but there are a lot of good programs, a lot of good talent. You can only line up so many people at Oregon, Washington, UCLA, USC in the Pac-12, or Alabama, or Auburn and LSU down in the SEC. So they'll go to a lot of the middle of the road conferences, but they still have a lot of good athletes, Big C. I want to just switch it up a little bit. Last night, I was looking for some libations, Big C. I was thinking, how does Big C pick the right libation to make it clairvoyant? So I was Googling some stuff. I've been working hard on my Google, Big C. I Googled, if you take some honey, if you take this called some Gray's tea, and also some lemonade, and you mix it all together and put a little bit of seaweed in it, Big C, it makes you remember stuff way back in high school, Big C. You ever come up with that kind of libation, Big C? You probably add a little shine to yours, though, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm trying to act like Brett Kavanaugh right now, the Supreme Court Justice nominee. I'm not trying to remember anything being in high school because it might be somebody who remembers also and it comes back to us.
I understand.
But, back in those days, Charlton, the greatest part about being in high school when I was there, there was no cell phone. There was no internet.
No.
There was no this media sensation stuff that everybody wants to be in. No Google, no FaceTime, no Twitter, none of that, Charlton.
Yeah.
So all you needed was a quarter to get the information out to somebody. You go to the phone booth, drop a quarter in, Charlton. That was our way of communicating.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that I was living in that era when I was young.
Well, I'm glad things have changed. Speaking of living in an era, and you talk about communicating, the Bears squeaked out a win last night versus Seattle. What a great environment. Soldier Field, Chicago, Illinois, right there on, just a beautiful Lake Michigan. Chicago's a gorgeous place. And when the Bears are good, football's actually better. But at some point in time, it should have been a blowout, yet they were just a one-touchdown game. If Pete Carroll, the guru of the West Coast, kind of the West Coast version of Belichick, did what he did at USC, what he did up in Seattle, if they don't find a way to protect Russell Wilson, I don't know if he's going to make 10 games this season. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the window's getting real close on Russell Wilson right now, Charlton, surviving in the NFL. You talk about a quarterback who has no help, who has nothing. When you sit there, his offensive line, you think he might have cussed them all out because they don't block for him. I thought I was watching Florida State play Syracuse all over again. But you think about professional football players, Charlton, who lack pride in their job. That's the Seattle offensive line, Charlton. It is completely atrocious. I thought the Buffalo Bills were bad. But the Buffalo Bills have an excuse. They're in Buffalo. Seattle's not that far removed from being in the NFL playoffs, Charlton. And you have one of the elitist quarterbacks in the game. And you would think that you going through a preseason, Charlton, that if these guys are not blocking in the preseason, you cut them. Just like an old coach I had said, I'll change some zip codes. And that's what Pete Carroll needs to do because the guys he has in there not protecting Russell Wilson, Charlton, you can tell me, you can find some guys on the practice roster that good. But when I look at Chicago, every time Chicago has a great defense, Charlton,
they look good.
They have no offense. You can go back to when Butkus was there and they had great defense with him. You think about the era with Dicker and Singletary and Dick and Durson. Those guys, Charlton, they went to the Super Bowl. Jim McMahon was not a great Super Bowl quarterback. He just happened to have a great team around him. They led there with Rex Grossman. I don't think Rex Grossman completed 200 passes on the season, Charlton, when they made it to the Super Bowl.
And that's including practice.
That was practice. Now you sit there and you look at what they have. They have Mitch Trubisky. Now, I don't know if everybody remember that the Bears traded up to draft Trubisky. They traded up. They passed on Deshaun Watson, and they passed on Patrick Mahomes. Even though Watson hasn't gotten off to a great start this year, Charlton, he has looked better than what this guy has looked, Charlton. There was 2 passes he should have had picked off in the game that Seattle just doesn't have any defensive players, just like they don't have offensive players. But Trubisky is not the answer for the Bears. He's going to play quarterback. Nagy's going to keep him in there. But he's going to cost them when it comes down to critical games, Charlton. I just don't see that in that quarterback position with them. But that defense, Charlton, is lights out.
I like him a lot. I want to ask you a question, though. Now, you've been very clairvoyant. I tell you, I think I need to add more seaweed to my mechanism that I'm making here in California. It's going to be something that's going to hit one of your restaurants. Maybe you good old boys will like something that doesn't have that thing that makes you fall asleep. maybe you can try sampling some of Charlton's very relaxation drink down south, Big C. But when you said what you said about Trubisky, what does that say about the guys that, remember, they told us this guy was a can't miss. It was Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. Do you play golf with those guys, Big C, or do you guys just talk to each other? Do you even use a payphone to talk to them, or do you guys just telecommunicate? They don't see the same thing you see. You were saying he was a bust. They were saying, no, he's a can't miss. How are you right again? Did I not mix my elixir the proper way, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, all you got to do is open your studio door and ask them what they're doing sitting out there in the lobby.
Yeah.
They'll tell you.
Yep.
One of the things that, when we look at all these analysts, Charlton, that get paid the big bucks by these networks, is that they look at the guy and think he looks like them in the mirror.
In the mirror, yeah.
That's what they're looking at, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's not always about what his productivity is in college. Because when you look at Trubisky, he had 14 college starts, Charlton. 14.
Yep.
That's not enough body of work to prove anything for anybody.
No.
And Les Norman be the first quarterback taken in the draft talking about, well, he has tremendous upside. No, he was a 50-50 quarterback basically in college because he was 8-6.
Yep.
So that's not blowing people away.
No.
He didn't even win his conference, Charlton. He didn't even win his bowl game. So, when you say that he had tremendous upside versus a quarterback that was in the same conference, Charlton, Deshaun Watson, who had been in the consecutive national championship games.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, he has better everything than the guy that's been in the consecutive national championship game. Big Nick Saban said was probably the best quarterback in college football. But Nick, what the hell does Nick know?
What does he know? All he does is win.
College championships. Okay? And then, you had Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
The kid threw for 5,800 yards.
Yep.
5,800 yards, Charlton, in his senior season.
Wow.
His college career. His last year in college.
Yep.
He threw for 1,500 yards. Matter of fact, it was his junior year. It wasn't even his senior, his junior year.
Yeah.
But Josh Allen, in his total college career, Charlton, didn't throw for 5,000 yards.
Wow.
Patrick Mahomes threw for more yards in one season than Josh Allen did while he was in college. And Mitch Trubisky.
Wow.
But, when you listen to your buddies, Kiper and McShay, they're knowledgeable. They all were as far as picking these great quarterbacks, Charlton. If anybody wants to Google how many quarterbacks are starting that McShay and Kiper said can't miss in the last 5 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, one that was drafted 3 years ago, Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
Denver cut him. He was the number one draft pick of Denver.
Yeah.
They cut him.
Yeah.
So, and here was a guy that they said should be traded up for, and the Cowboys should have took him instead of Dak Prescott.
Well, Big C, I want to ask you something, and I mean this for our media brethren, because what's fair if you don't have some competition? Everybody's saying that quarterbacks have to compete for a job. Head coaches have to compete for a job. The wide receivers, the O-line, D-line, they all have to compete for a job. So how does Big C, and I'm speaking to the network executives that hire people that give you fake news, if people were to Google what they're seeing, they'd realize they only write about 30% of the time. What is Big C doing that maybe these networks could understand that they can even steal our stuff, they steal it anyway, but give them your advice, and I'm just being serious. Why is it that those guys that have been put in front of ours time and time again saying this is can't miss stuff, and you just state the facts, how come they don't have access to the same information you have, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, biasness will take you away from dealing with the facts. The facts of what you see as far as productivity and who somebody has to compete against lets you know how well they can play.
Yeah.
When we talked about Mahomes, I mean, this kid could spin it. I saw him do something in college that I'd only seen one other quarterback do, and he was African-American also. I don't know if everybody remembers Brian Leftwich when he was at Marshall University.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
When he played on a bad leg, and his offensive lineman had to carry him to the next snap because he couldn't walk, he couldn't run.
I recall.
I saw Rick Mahomes do the same thing, Charlton, in a college game where his offensive lineman carried him. That meant that his team meant more than his own personal health.
Yeah.
Just like we saw, you look at all the accolades that Aaron Rodgers got in the game that, he came back out against the Bears. Everybody's like, wow, he's a superhero. No,
right.
This had been done by two black quarterbacks in college prior to Aaron Rodgers doing it, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they both won the games. Brian Leftwich, playing for Marshall, came in and had to be carried by his offensive line. Rick Mahomes had to do the same thing at Texas Tech, Charlton.
Yeah.
That meant that these guys had what it takes to be successful as athletes, is that they cared about their team. They were team first, team-oriented. You don't get this in this prima donna world now, these quarterbacks, Charlton, because I need $100 million to play.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not 500 in my career.
That's very good news. So I want everyone to just Google what we're saying. The purpose of Big C Sports is not to say like what we're saying. We're just really big on the facts. Just the facts, Was it Telly Savalas? Remember him, Kojak? Was it Kojak back in the day? He said just the fact with that lollipop. What do you think was in the inside? How many licks did it take to get to the center of Kojak's lollipop, Big C? Your thoughts? I know you've counted, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, no, he made it through every episode. I never seen him finish off a lollipop. It took longer to get to that lollipop than it did time to shave his head.
That's funny, Big C. No, I love he's still licking that lollipop and tell his wallet. I mean, he was a great actor. So Patrick Mahomes thrown 10 touchdowns, NFL record. The record is 55 by Peyton Manning in one season. Patrick Mahomes on pace to throw 80. Okay, he wasn't hyped like some of these other guys. He wasn't hyped like Darnold. He wasn't hyped like Allen. He wasn't hyped like Baker Mayfield. He happened to be, he has some color. I'll say he has some skin color that doesn't fit the NFL's modus operandi, at least the one they want you to have. But if you just look at the facts, just like Leftwich, Big C, I don't care what color somebody is, but I do care about the color of the truth. That's why when mainstream will pump up guys that don't even have the numbers to support them, like Gruden's really 81 wins and 82 losses in his career when he's not coaching Tony Dungy's players, but it's worth $100 million if you have white skin. That's a farce. Why is that the case? So when we talk about Mahomes, who knows how he's going to end up? He may hit 80 touchdowns, but I know he'll hit more than 55. But will he ever be that guy that Madison Avenue says, you know what? Kuiper and McShay, you guys have been stealing money. We're paying you for what Trump calls fake news. I would hope that we can bring attention to that, Big C. That make any sense?
Well, Charlton, when you look at what he's done statistically, you're going to have a lot of people early on say, well, it's a fluke, it won't last. Why can't it last? I mean, that's like saying that Eli Manning all of a sudden is going to throw 35 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
We know that's not going to happen.
Right.
You think about it, there's people already talking negatively about what Mahomes is doing.
I know.
You've thrown 10 touchdowns. Never been done in the history of the NFL.
Nope.
With
Google it.
all these great quarterbacks that you've had around. 10 touchdowns in 2 games, Charlton. 4 in the first, 6 in the second. And this last game, Charlton, against one of the most formidable franchises in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Who he just went out and lit up. But he only had 5 incompletions in the game, Charlton.
That's amazing.
That's what they're not talking about.
No.
The touchdowns are beautiful. But those 5 incompletions that he threw. So when you think about a guy who sat back and learned for a year, Charlton, and you got to give Alex Smith a lot of credit because you think about Alex Smith groomed
Patrick Mahomes
Kaepernick in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
He sat behind him and watched.
Yep.
And when he came out, Charlton, he set the NFL on fire.
Yep.
Same thing as we've seen with Patrick Mahomes. Or if history is going to repeat itself, if Patrick Mahomes did what Colin Kaepernick did, Charlton, you may see the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The way he's gotten off and just put shockwaves in the NFL. None of these experts can sit out there and explain it right now. They're trying to downgrade the guy, say, well, it's a fluke the first couple of games.
Yeah.
But they're not saying it's a fluke with Eli Manning. Think about Eli Manning, Charlton, has as many weapons as Patrick Mahomes does.
I know it.
When you look at the receiving core with Ingram, with Beckham, with Shepard, and then you look at the running back that they drafted, Barkley, in the first round. You match that up across the board with what Kansas City has. The only difference is the quarterback.
Yeah.
So if all these so-called experts in the NFL want to sit there and say, well, what's the difference? It's the quarterback.
Yeah.
You take the receiving core and running backs that the Giants have and put on Kansas City.
Yep.
Mahomes is not going to miss a stride, Charlton.
No, he's not.
If you flip him over to the Giants, they'll still be 0-2.
That's a good point. So just Google it. And again, I got to bring this point up too because oftentimes when I look at the broadcast booth, it's not about saying what color somebody is unless you're Madison Avenue. In the NFL, they want to keep that great white hype at quarterback. Even white guys know it's true. But if it costs you a game, if it costs you a season, if you don't win, maybe you should rethink what really matters to you. I want to just bring up some of the QBR, the bottom-ranked 3 quarterbacks in this NFL past weekend. Number 3 is Josh Allen. You look at his rating, and then number 2, Sam Darnold, and then Russell Wilson. But see, they're all very poor in ratings. 2 of those guys are brand new, they're rookies, and then also Russell has to go to Pete Carroll and say, look, Pete, there's a thing called CTE, and you get it from being too many hits to the head. He's not in a spot where he's going to last a long time. I almost feel bad for him. There was one moment where he was on the ground, Big C, and he had his arm stretched out, where it felt like if someone had fallen on him, he could have dislocated his shoulder. But he's always on the ground. He's always running for his life, and he's an all-pro player, Big C. Your thoughts on the QBR ratings, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about Russell Wilson, Charlton, he's been sacked 12 times in the first 2 games of the season.
That's crazy.
He's on pace right now to be sacked a record number of times in the NFL. And when you have a veteran quarterback that's been to 2 Super Bowls, that shouldn't happen.
No.
The offensive line should have a little more pride about what they're doing. But when you talked about the QBR ratings, and you got Josh Allen, Charlton, a starter in the NFL, sitting at a 14.9. That's less than a 15 QBR rating.
Yeah.
That is atrocious. Because if he was a minority quarterback, Charlton, he'd have found the pine a long time ago.
Long time ago.
But when you look at Tyrod Taylor's QBR rating, when he was in Buffalo last year, Charlton, he had an 89 QBR rating.
Yeah.
89. His QBR rating was 75 points higher than what Josh Allen's is. And when you look at Sam Darnold, everyone raved about his first game, against Detroit. Detroit is victoryless. Has no wins on the season.
Hey, that's a new word. You can't.
In that second game going down to Miami, Charlton, and now he's sitting there with a less than a 20 QBR rating.
Yeah.
So when you talk about what you wish for, and both of those guys were 2 of the top quarterbacks taken in the draft, Charlton.
Yep.
And that QBR rating, they're going to have to pick that up if they don't want to let history repeat itself and have their teams drafting high all over again.
I got to ask your thoughts, though, because we're all about fact-checking. I watched a lot of Perry Mason growing up. I said, how does Perry Mason already find the guilty guy? All you got to do is wait until they play the music. They always put the music on the guilty guy when he's on the screen. So the guilty guys should be the guys that are telling you that these are can't miss. Where is Todd McShay and Kiper? Why are they not defending their like we say, Google it, so if we're wrong, you can know that we don't know what we're talking about? Why don't they ever come on TV and say they blew it, like time and time again, year after year, and they still get paychecks? Like their paychecks don't count based on their accuracy. They just get paid because they speak. But if they're getting paid on being inaccurate, they make a lot more money than getting paid on accuracy, Big C does.
Well, Charlton, they might be betting against themselves, with all this open gambling now that you have out there and who's going to be what.
Yeah.
But when you look at those quarterbacks, Charlton, and the QBR rating, I mean, that lends towards the success of a team.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a QBR rating, I would like, when you look at the Jets and you look at the Bills, take Tyrod Taylor's QBR rating and take Josh Allen's QBR rating.
Yeah.
I guarantee you right now, Tyrod Taylor has at least an 80 QBR rating.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't looked at it, but he has at least an 80 QBR rating versus Josh Allen. And he went to the playoffs last year, and he's outplayed Josh Allen in the first 2 games. Even though Cleveland has not won, Charlton, it hasn't been because of Tyrod Taylor. He has given the team a chance. Tyrod, Josh Allen played so bad in the last game. You had a defensive back, Davis, retired at halftime. You don't even have a chance. That's how bad the quarterback was playing.
And we want the kid to do well. He was more proficient using the N-word when he was a young boy and say he didn't remember he used it. And it got by the NFL brass that say character matters. Well, listen, anyone can make mistakes, but if that's in his heart, I'm sure a lot of those players that he's playing against, they're saying, what was that favorite word? What was your favorite word again, Mr. Allen? That the NFL media that won't support black athletes taking a stand, but they say this guy has great character. I mean, that's a joke, Big C. I look at the top 3 quarterbacks in Week 1, and you think about Patrick Mahomes. Just happens to be another man of color, Big C. Not that it should matter, but it does matter to the league. Also, Big Ben Roethlisberger. Mahomes is 98, actually 96.7, 96.8 in his rating. Big Ben, and then you look at Fitzpatrick, who I think is amazing. I would keep Winston on the bench, but give me your thoughts on those 3 quarterbacks, because they're all playing decent except for Roethlisberger. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we talked about Mahomes. He's had all the accolades in the world, Charlton, as far as for what he has done, the completion percentage, the touchdowns, the lack of incompletions, Charlton. I mean, he's been the complete package. He's been beyond what was advertised by the so-called experts that everybody's listening to on television.
Yeah.
But Charlton, we talked about, his potential greatness long before he took a starting snap.
Yeah.
As his body of work.
Yeah.
When I look at Ryan Fitzpatrick, Charlton, who is just blowing people away, 8 touchdown passes, Charlton, in his first 2 games.
He's amazing.
He's gotten a vote of confidence from his teammates in Tampa Bay saying he should remain the starting quarterback, and he should, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of when Jameis Winston shows up. Jameis Winston, throughout his career, being the number 1 overall pick in the NFL, Charlton,
yeah,
has performed like the number 1 buffoon off the field while he was in college and in the NFL.
He's a knucklehead.
When you have that type of spotlight on you, Charlton,
yeah,
I don't care who you are. At some point, stay home.
Yeah.
Don't go out. Just stay home. Call it in. Whatever you need to do, make a phone call and have your friends bring it back.
Yeah.
But, the biggest surprise of the entire season, Charlton, has been Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
Blake Bortles has just blown people away. He put over 350 yards in the air against the Patriots over the weekend.
Yeah.
He knocked off Eli Manning in the opening game of the season, Charlton.
Yeah.
And everybody said, well, all the experts were picking the Giants.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. The Giants have to have a quarterback to win a game.
Yeah.
And Eli Manning is going to be protected all year.
Yeah.
By the NFL media, Charlton, everybody who covers.
Yep.
They're not going to throw him under the bus. If Ryan Fitzpatrick, Charlton, think about this. If he has 2 bad games at any point this year, you'll have everybody in the media saying, I told you so, you should bench it.
Yep.
Eli Manning could be 0-6 at that point, Charlton.
Yep.
And nobody be crying for Sherman to sit him down.
Well, that's really good news. I also like his swag. He dresses like one of those black dudes, Big C. He had the gold chain all down on his, what do they call them, those pecs? What do you guys do to show off your muscles when you're lifting weights? Is the pecs the thing, that V in your chest? He had some gold. I don't know if it was a lion. It was something gold hanging on his neck, Big C. You can see it through all that hair on his chest. He got a lot of swag coming with him, too. I really like the way he's playing. I think if you're Tampa Bay, that's your starter. It's not Winston. Winston's just another bad decision for getting in trouble anyway. Let him grow up and sit out and learn from somebody who doesn't get in trouble. That's my opinion. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sport and event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. 2 things I want to bring up. I heard some rumors that people were saying, some NFL Hall of Famers were saying to Roger Goodell that if we don't get some health care, then we're going to start boycotting these Hall of Fame ceremonies because the league's going to $27 billion in revenue. That would be fake news for the people that are saying the ratings are down. $27 billion, you have guys that don't have health care? That doesn't make any sense, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton, the NFL has always been a glorified league. And they're not like Major League Baseball, who has the best union in all the world. Not just sports, but our whole world.
Yeah.
Because one day in major leagues, you qualify for your pension and health care for the rest of your life.
Right.
But this is also part of the problem with the players, Charlton. When these players are sit down in their collective bargaining agreement, and this has always been a part of it, is that they want their money now. They don't care about what goes on 10 years from now. They're thinking about it now. I got to go buy that new car. I got to go buy that new house. I got to go get this boat.
Yeah.
That's what's been the players' fault. And even with Dickerson making that statement, Charlton, that was part of the problem even when Eric was playing.
Yeah.
Is that they thought about their money now. They were always trying to get raises.
Yeah.
The coaches, Charlton, are just like in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
When coaches get fired in the NFL, Charlton, they make over $100,000 a year the rest of their lives from that team that they were fired from.
Yeah.
So they're always going to have revenue. So if you think about the players, Charlton, instead of saying, okay, we need more money now, just think about in any of those years during the collective bargaining agreement, is to say, hey, we want $50,000 a year the rest of our lives if we played and made full pension in the NFL.
Yeah.
And if you and that's 3 years. If you only play 2 years, it's 40.
Yeah.
If you only play 2 years, it's 20, Charlton. But it has to be equitable. You got to find a way to spread it out. If you look at the Hall of Famers and you go to the Hall of Fame ceremony, Charlton, and there's none of the alumni in there, looks real bad for the NFL.
Yeah, it
but
does.
You have to start somewhere. you just can't say that the Hall of Famers are the only one who deserve that money, Charlton, because they got to the Hall of Fame on the backs of their teammates, Charlton.
Yeah.
You think about it. You can have a running back in the Hall of Fame like Eric Dickerson.
Yeah.
Find two of his offensive linemen that are in the Hall of Fame, Charlton.
Wow.
That's the struggle you have. When you look at a quarterback, you're going to have all the numbers in the world.
Yeah.
Dan Marino. How many of your offensive linemen are in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
So you can't just say the Hall of Famers get the money. Charlton, they can be the stepping stone and the building block for the league, but the only way to do this, Charlton, is equitably, and you got to go find all the players that have played in the league. There's a lot of money.
Yeah.
$27 billion is a lot of money, Charlton, but there's a lot of veteran players who really get catastrophic injuries or reoccurrence of injuries after they retire.
You know,
I just had a total hip replacement, Charlton,
yeah,
which is attributed to playing.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the medical insurance from the league to pay for it, Charlton. I had to deal with private insurance.
Yeah.
And a big problem with private insurance is a thing called the Affordable Care Act mandate, which was eliminated by our current administration, Charlton.
Unfortunately, yep.
Every football player, Charlton, has pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
So they can be denied by insurance companies. So all of you people who sit there and say, well, no, we didn't want the insurance. Athletes can't get insurance because they have pre-existing conditions. You got joint issues, you got CTE, you got arthritis, you got all these pre-existing conditions that health insurance companies will deny you because you're an athlete. So think about what the administration is doing. When they say, that Kaepernick was un-American, that he was against the flag in the military, you even get military personnel, Charlton, that can't get health insurance because of pre-existing conditions. Yes, they can go to the VA, but that's like sitting in line at a buffet.
Yeah.
Who knows when you're going to get up to the food? So think about when you put your head down at night, think about what professional athletes, former professional athletes can't get anymore, and think about what our military personnel can't get anymore. So that's how synonymous is the military with the NFL, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when you think about military personnel can't go out and get private health insurance because of their pre-existing conditions, neither can NFL players, Charlton.
Big C, I'm glad you brought that up, and because if we don't have, everybody wants to be wealthy. They want to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's part of most human beings. There are very few people who want to say they want to vow to chastity and they want to be poor for the rest of their lives just to prove some point to whatever figure they're trying to please. But when
I don't want to be poor. I'm trying to hit them negative.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's like 255. But don't think I haven't put a couple in my pocket. But I gotta bring up this point too because, again, African Americans have fought in every war this country's had, from the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, Persian Gulf, all of them. But would you believe that
the Civil War, Charlton?
The Civil War?
In the Civil War.
Civil War?
For America, they didn't even have rights.
Didn't have rights.
And they still fought for America. They went out and died on the battlefields, for people trying to keep them oppressed.
Isn't that something? And it seems that every time a politician, whether it's POTUS or some other politician, wants to get the white vote or the mainstream vote, whether it was Reagan in those Willie Horton ads, or even other presidents who ran for office, even Clinton signed that crime bill that sent more black men to prison than any other president in the history of this country, and they call him a black president. Come on, he atoned for it, he apologized for it, but that was the stroke of the pen that did that, not because people did it wrong. Black and white people were doing drugs. White guys get what they call probation or counseling. They were locking up black men. I gotta bring up this point though. When POTUS says they're anti-American for taking a knee, and they should fire the SOBs, he has to understand that the military that he ran from 5 times, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, he had shin splints. When you have,
don't remember which leg he had.
Don't remember which leg. But when you strip away that you can deny somebody for pre-existing conditions, what does he say to the military? They all have pre-existing conditions. Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, when you think about CTE that we talk about so profoundly with the NFL, you think about people who've come back from this last Middle Eastern war, Charlton. There are so many veterans with CTE, Charlton, from these IEPs, these roadside blasts, just from the bombs that constantly go off around them, Charlton. that they lodge as well as that are in the vicinity of where they are.
Yeah.
You think about them being shook all the time, Charlton, and no one is taking that into consideration. Our military should be celebrated, not by taking the NFL, Charlton, and trying to make them combatants against each other.
Exactly.
But talk about what the government is not doing for our military personnel, Charlton. They deny them medical coverage all the time. And the president is in charge of that. When you're talking about the VA being the most shabbily run administration in our entire government, it is, Charlton. There should not be one veteran out there that suffers one day.
No.
They should always be able to get the medical attention. If they got a toothache, they should be first in line, Charlton.
Yep.
If they got a bunion on their foot, they should be first in line. And when they talk about them having problems mentally, Charlton,
right,
no one should say, well, you're just making an adjustment coming back into society. No, Charlton, these men are scarred for life from what they had to go through in battle and what they had to deal with, dealing with other human beings. And then you're telling them to come back and assimilate in society and just accept it. Everything will be okay. They change 100% when they go to war.
Yeah.
I've seen it in my own family, Charlton.
Yeah.
They change 100%. And for our administration and for our public to say, well, they're just having a hard time adjusting. No, Charlton, they come back home with serious mental issues. You may not see them losing a leg, losing an arm.
Yep.
But no one just can think about them losing their mind.
Yeah.
You had more veterans in the war, Charlton, losing their mind than they've lost limbs.
Yeah, that's true.
When you think about the suicide rate, which is horrific amongst our veterans, Charlton, of all wars.
I know.
Vietnam, Korean War, Charlton, and especially this Middle Eastern war, and our government wants to attack the NFL instead of the causes of our military medical problems, Charlton. We have stupidity in our administration.
Well, when they attack the NFL, that's a broad sweep. What they're really doing is attacking black players. And again, as an African-American man, I wasn't taught to be dumb. I wasn't taught to hide your thoughts. Anyone's thoughts are just as valid as the next person. But for a lot of African-American men, men of color, even my mainstream brethren, they all know the truth. Black men have fought for every war this country's ever had, but we're always being the one made the enemy of this great country that we've fought in every war. So just Google that the next time somebody says they're anti-American. They're anti-American, they're not standing for the flag. No, you stripped away guaranteed health care, and now people have pre-existing conditions. Now they can't get covered. Big C, I want to just throw your thoughts on one more thing. In the NFL last night, how did John Gruden feel last night watching the Monday night game, where Khalil Mack dominated once again defensively, and had he had that same performance for the Raiders up in Denver, the Raiders would have beaten Denver, but because he got rid of him. Now, I'm just pointing out one thing that I want to point out. Khalil Mack, just like a lot of the vanguards that fought in the wars, he's one of the best that the Raiders have ever had in the history of their team. He did everything he had to do to be on that team. He's a Bear now. He's wearing black and orange instead of silver and black. But he was marginalized before he was traded. He was devalued before he was traded. At some point in time, when will media devalue the coaching acumen of John Gruden? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, I go back a few years, and I, hesitate to think what would the Kansas City had done, or even the fan base, if they had traded Derek Thomas, during the height of his career.
Oh my goodness.
In Kansas City. I mean, Derek was just a beast. I mean, I see Derek every time I see Clear back, the late Derek Thomas.
Yeah.
Everybody talked about how great Lawrence Taylor was. Think about if the Giants had said, we're going to move him because he doesn't want to come to camp. He wants more money for what he does.
Yep.
You think about those two great players in the NFL. Marty Schottenheimer, it shows the intelligence of Marty Schottenheimer by working, and Cal Peterson, making sure that Derek Thomas was taken care of, Charlton.
Yeah.
Marty Schottenheimer is suffering with CTE, and he's a former player and coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
You think about Bill Parcells, if he had not have said, hey, we got to have this guy to win. John Gruden, his story is going to be, well, everything is hindsight. We're going to be second guessed on this trade. Second guess? Everybody's saying that you're stupid right now. Ain't no second guessing going on.
Yeah.
This is like your friend, the old broadcaster said, you going to believe us or your lying eyes?
Yeah.
And that's what Khalil Mack has done in 2 nationally televised broadcast games.
Yeah.
Is that he has told the NFL nation, every viewer out there, do you believe me or do you believe John Gruden?
Yeah, and that's a fact.
I'm giving you the facts.
Yeah.
I'm giving you all the proof of what I was worth.
Yep. I think
John Gruden said I wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
You know, that we were a bad defense without him.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now the Bears are a top 5 defense because he's there, Charlton?
Yep. Google it.
So, I mean, the impact of what a player means to them, it's not always in statistics.
No.
Even though he has the statistics to back what he does, it's that motivation factor of what somebody brings. You know,
Yeah.
like we talk about Mahomes on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Look at what he's done to electrify this Kansas City offense, Charlton. It has tremendous weapons, and they have a quarterback that can utilize those tools. Look at this Chicago defense, Charlton. Khalil Mack has made everybody be accountable on the Chicago defense.
Yep.
Saying, I'm not going to be the last guy there. That's what he has done.
Yeah, and if he's not, you know, I'm very passionate about today's show. I think I put a little bit too much mint in my libation. I'm trying to get you to, you know how they sample things? I want you to sample Charlton's new relaxation, you know, libation in your restaurants, Big C. What it take? You don't have to run from Buford T. Justice all the time, Big C. Mine doesn't have that stuff that you guys put here. Okay? I'm just always asking, like you always say, the best question asked is the one that you ask. The worst question asked is the one you don't ask. And speaking of asking questions, talking about Khalil Mack, I love his passion. I'm all hyped up today, Big C. There's been 21 roughing the passer calls already this season. As a defensive player, I know you were a dirty player, Big C, but you always said, just like running from Buford T. Justice, you're not dirty if you don't get caught, Big C. You're not.
Well, we're talking about the thing about playing on grass back in those days. It was hard to stay clean. So, you know, we had a lot of dirty players back in those days. But, you know, when we look at where the league is gone now with its stance, is that, you know, they've taken a lot of things out of the game. It's like the horse collar penalty, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, first it was a little bit, and then, you know, any part of it. You know, then the face mask, you know, went to a total personal foul. It wasn't inadvertent, it was his personal foul.
Well, Big C, hold on, Big C. Were you disappointed when they started making face masking a penalty? Is that what you're saying?
Well, Charlton, that's why you wore gloves that was the same color as your opponent's face mask, okay?
Yeah.
So it was hard to tell.
Yeah.
But you know, this rule, Charlton, about roughing the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, this rule was put in play, Charlton, because of the hundreds of millions of dollars that you're giving quarterbacks now.
Yep.
It wasn't about the game. It wasn't about the sanctity of the game. It was about trying to figure out how do you pay a guy $2 million a week and he's not playing.
Yep.
That's what this rule is all about, Charlton.
Yeah.
That, you know, you're trying to avoid paying a guy $2 million a week and he's not in the lineup.
Yeah.
You know, as a defensive player, and I've seen some of these textbook bring downs by these defensive linemen, Charlton. Even the one with Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
He put down his left hand so he wouldn't put his weight on Kirk Cousins.
I agree.
You know, this is something that the NFL needs to put up for review.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the targeting. When they can go back and review targeting to decide whether the player is going to be expelled from the game or stay in the game, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do on this rule with the quarterback taking him to the ground. Because when you got 280, 300 pounds, Charlton, one step away from the quarterback and you stride into him just as he's releasing the ball.
Yep.
And you say, well, you need to be able to pull up, you know, in a half a step.
Yeah.
Off of this guy.
No, it's hard to do that.
The NFL got this one wrong. And I don't care about all the other rule changes and all this and something.
Yeah.
You can't take defensive play out of the game.
Yep.
Because that's how you're going to get a quarterback hurt trying to take defensive play. If I'm a defensive player and I know that the decision on this game is taking this guy out, take him out.
Yeah.
Take him out, but he's not throwing another pass.
So I want to make sure that I got you on the record, Big C. Is Big C petitioning Roger Goodell to say, stop making face masking a penalty? You say, is that what you're trying to say, Big C?
Well, I think that Roger needs to even, you know, just look at putting this up for replay.
Yeah.
Put this rule, Charlton,
under
the same rule as targeting, okay? Because it's basically the same thing.
Yep.
You're saying that a player targeted an offensive player. We saw that with Cam Newton and the Falcons on the weekend.
Yeah.
When the defensive back took him out after he slid. Now, you didn't need to go to replay to see that.
No, you did not to see it.
Everybody saw it live. Even officials
yeah.
threw the flag, you saw it live. But you went to replay to reassure yourself.
Yeah, I think sometimes,
so the NFL needs to look at this, taking down the quarterback under replay rules, Charlton, to reassure whether it was really putting your weight, pile driving the guy into the ground, or it was just a normal takedown, Charlton.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's just a normal thing. Players go so fast, Big C. Even if you think about how they're, like you always said, the football field is not going to be any wider than what it is. Up in Canada, it's a little bit wider and longer, so you have more room to get out of bounds or to avoid a hit. Or when you're running, you just have more space not to be set in a confined space. But with all the thoughts about protecting quarterbacks, I just want your thoughts. The top 5 ranked passing quarterbacks yardage-wise in the NFL this season. You think about Fitzpatrick, you think about Roethlisberger, and then you have Breeze, you have Rivers and Cousins. Only one thing in common: one guy has a team undefeated through 2 games. So passing yards is great, but you still got to have a running game. We know quarterbacks get paid big dollar for throwing the ball deep. Like in baseball, they love the home run. But sometimes you throw a lot because you might be coming from behind, not because you're ahead trying to keep the lead too, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you talk about those quarterbacks, Fitzpatrick is the only one that's undefeated. He's thrown for 850 yards this year, Charlton, in 2 games.
Yeah.
Those other 4 quarterbacks, Charlton, have all been behind in every game.
Yeah.
They've all been behind, so they've had to try to come with miraculous fourth-quarter comebacks.
Yep.
So what that means, Charlton, they don't have their team playing out front. And, you know, granted, they're not playing defense, but they're not doing enough offensively early in the game, Charlton, to put their team on top where their running games can take over. But in Tampa Bay, I mean, you know, I hope things keep going in Tampa Bay, Charlton. They were the only team in their division that didn't make the playoffs last year. The Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons all made the playoffs, Charlton. They all made the playoffs with established veteran quarterbacks. Ryan Fitzpatrick's been in the NFL 14 years now, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's an established veteran quarterback in the NFL. He has over 125 starts in his career.
I like him a lot.
And here's a guy that has teammates that like him.
Yeah.
When we look at the prima donna situation of the NFL and the quarterbacks, Charlton, there's controversies. I mean, if Ben Roethlisberger has a bad week, well, I'm thinking about retiring. I don't know if I have it anymore. That's his first cry, but he's embraced by the media for saying that. For threatening the organization and his teammates. I don't feel I want to be here with you anymore. When Vontae Davis retires at halftime, everybody calls him a quitter.
Isn't that something?
You know, because his team ain't going to get no better. Antonio Brown says trade me because of tweets. And it's, well, you know, he's walking out on his teammates. There's a double standard for everybody out there, Charlton. So I'm happy for Fitzpatrick leading the NFL in passing.
I like it. He reminds. I know who he reminds me of. Remember that movie, the TV show back in the day? It was called Miami Vice. It was Don Johnson. He dressed like Don Johnson, but Don Johnson was in Miami. Fitzpatrick trying to bring that swag to Tampa. I think he's pulling it off well, Big C. I want to get Big C's bottom 6 teams in the NFL. Everybody always talks about the guys that finish first. If you're not first, then you're last. But give me your thoughts on Big C's bottom 6 teams in the NFL. And everybody has their own opinion, but Big C, whatever you put in that libation, it kind of makes you clairvoyant because a lot of your stuff comes true. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, we talked about these teams last week prior to them playing. And the Cardinals, I take them as the worst team right now in the NFL. They didn't score a point last week against the Rams. They didn't even have 100 yards passing. So when you talk about a team that's being inept, they surpassed the Bills as being the worst team, and the Bills are in at number 2. You know, being the second worst team in the NFL, Charlton. They don't have a quarterback. But then we move up to the Detroit Lions, Charlton. they gave out a lackluster performance in Week 1. They lost in Week 2 to the 49ers. Then we look at your boy Eli in New York, who's leading the hapless Giants, who are 0-2, Charlton. But everybody in the media is going to blame everybody except for Eli. They're going to say his O-line is not blocking. That, you know, he doesn't have a chance. Then we got your buddy John Gruden out there in Oakland, Charlton, who's known as being a football genius.
A football guru.
Called football for a decade on Monday night. He had the Gruden quarterback camp. But he can't figure out how to work defense. He knows quarterbacks, but he doesn't know anything about defense, Charlton. And then the most disappointing of those 6, Charlton, has to be the Houston Texans. You know, with all the accolades they received with John Watson last year playing 6 or 7 games, Charlton,
yep,
and that great defensive personnel that has gotten old in Houston, Charlton, they're 0-2.
Yeah, Houston, we do have a problem. So they can always change it by winning. Like who your friend said, we play to win the game. Speaking of playing to win the game, Big C, we talked about your bottom 6 teams. I want to get your thoughts, and of course, everybody has their own opinion out there in the sports universe. Big C, your top 8 teams ranked in the NFL. Give me your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, everybody normally goes with the top 10. I'm going to go with the top 8 because we look at the number of divisions that we have in the league.
In the playoff,
just
yeah.
like last week, I'm going to say that the Rams are the best team in the NFL, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because of what they do offensively, Charlton, they put so much pressure on opposing teams, and they shut out the Cardinals this past weekend.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, catapulting up to number 2, Charlton, Ryan Fitzpatrick and that hot Tampa Bay Buccaneer offense.
I like them.
That knocked off the defending Super Bowl champions, Charlton.
Yeah.
Then I got to look down the state of Jacksonville, Charlton. Well, upstate.
Yeah.
Jacksonville has just blown away 2 teams that have won Super Bowls, Charlton. They demolished the Giants in week 1.
Yep.
They manhandled the Patriots and Tom Brady in week 2.
Yep.
Kansas City, Charlton. Patrick Mahomes, the red-hot young quarterback, Charlton, who's set the league record books and defense is on fire. They're the number 4 team in the league. Charlton, another team in that wonderful state of Miami. You think about it. The state of Florida has 3 teams in my top 8. Miami.
Yeah.
They're leading the East. Who would have thought it? We said before last weekend's game, Charlton, that the winner of the Jets-Miami game would be leading the AFC East.
Well, hold on.
Miami won that game.
Hold on, Big C. Did you get the approval from the state of Florida to open another restaurant for the libation relaxation? Big C, your thoughts? Is that why all their teams are in Big C's top?
So you can do things offshore in Miami that you can't do in other places.
Okay, Big C.
And, Charlton, I love the team with the stripes. Look at what the Cincinnati Bengals and the big redhead Andy Dalton are doing, Charlton. They are moving the ball up and down the field. They have a solid running game to go along with the passing game. And that team out west that nobody's thinking about, Charlton, Denver.
Yeah.
They've gotten a little high in the rankings. They're up to number 7 in the power rankings. So, I mean, anybody who wants to go to Denver and relax, Charlton, that's the place to be in the NFL.
Yeah.
And even though this team has a tie, Charlton,
yeah,
I'm going to bring Green Bay in at number 8. They should have won this game, Charlton. They got jobbed a couple times by missed field goal and the officials and the league, Charlton, in this game.
Yep.
But Green Bay, even with a gimpy quarterback, is in there at number 8.
Well, Big C, I love following your Big C's bottom. No one does the bottom teams. With Big C doing it, now you'll see more of the mainstream starting to do their bottom teams, and then they'll start picking their top 10 or top 8. So that's always great. We love so much about the sports universe. We know that baseball has gone strong, but we wanted to focus on some football this week because Big C's opened up another restaurant. It's all about football, how much libation you can drink, and how many TV. Why do you need 100 TVs in a restaurant? Doesn't it make it hot when people walk inside? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we open the doors, we turn on the air conditioning, we got the fans running, and we tell everybody no heavy breathing inside.
I understand the heavy breathing. Speaking of heavy breathing, we'll close out our segment. We talk a lot about professional sports. We talk a lot about politics, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, MMA, boxing. All the college football players want at ultimately one goal. That's how to win the Heisman Trophy in college, and then the national championship and the chance to get drafted into the NFL. If you're thinking about it, maybe it's too early. We only had a couple of games in college football. Is it too early to talk about the Heisman race? And if so, just give me your thoughts on some of the players that come to mind. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they always start talking the Heisman in the preseason. Vegas even puts out odds, even before college football kicks off. But, Charlton, if you're going by the eye test and you're looking at what players have done, I know Alabama gets a lot of accolades about Tua because of the national championship, Charlton.
Yeah.
But to me, the most electrifying quarterback right now in college football is Kyler Murray, the sophomore down at Oklahoma, Charlton. This is a kid who passed up Major League Baseball. The Oakland A's drafted him number 4 overall.
Yeah.
Gave him several $1 million to come play for him, Charlton. He wanted to still play college football. He wanted to grow up still mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And to me, He's doing all that. He's outplaying the previous Heisman Trophy winner that they had there last year, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and my number 2 guy on the list, Charlton, when I think about these guys, I got to think about Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State.
He's good.
Here's a guy who sit on the bench behind Barrett last year, Charlton,
Yep.
who learned, just like we talked about with Mahomes. He sit on the bench behind a quarterback who won some 50 games while he was in college. And Haskins has catapulted Ohio State, Charlton, into the top 3 in the country, and is just a dominant physical specimen who can throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
You know, I look at Tua. Tua is right there for me, Tua Tagovailoa, there at Alabama. But he doesn't have the statistics, Charlton, when you think about what a player does to win the Heisman. Yes, you can be on a great team and be undefeated,
right?
But you also got to bring some statistics along with it, Charlton. I also look at Will Greer at West Virginia. Their game was canceled last week, Charlton.
Yes.
And he didn't get a chance to play because of the hurricane. And all our wishes and thoughts go out to those people that were impacted by the hurricane,
yes.
Charlton.
Yes.
But Will Greer is right there. And I think about one running back, Charlton. That's going to be Jonathan Taylor. They lost to BYU last week, Charlton.
Yep.
But Jonathan Taylor is a dominant running back. And you still think about him. He's still the number 2 rusher in the country after 3 games.
That's amazing, Big C. And when you think about it, even though they lost that game, he's still going to bring it. They just maybe should have given him the ball a little bit more. It's always easy to be the Monday morning quarterback. But as we always tell everybody, the purpose of Big C Sports is we love what we do. I love Big C Sports. I love talking sports. I love talking entertainment and politics. We love telling people to live your life. You can always do that. Everybody goes through something. It's how you come out of it. That's what proves who you are. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, ever since the Washington Capitals won the Stanley Cup, there's been hard times for fans in the D.C. area. We saw the first non-sellout of the
Redskins
history, basically, of the Washington Redskins in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
They had some 30,000 empty seats at FedEx Field.
Wow.
But the end of the season can't come quick enough, Charlton, for the Baltimore Orioles. This once proud franchise in the American League, Charlton, lost its 107th game last night.
Wow.
So, you know, it would be nice if baseball put in a mercy rule with 60 games out of first base. You can just go home early.
Yeah, sometimes it would be great to see grown men given the mercy rules, Big C. But speaking of mercy, you can always find it every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.